You are listening to an exclusive interview on Bass Musician Magazine. The interview starts now.
Hey everybody, this is Raul for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the great honor and pleasure of chatting with bassist Paul Burnette. Many of you might remember Paul from Darkest Hour, most recently with band Hewolf, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but let's go back in time. Tell us, how did you get started in music and on bass?
It started long before I even had a bass. My cousin and I would gather stuff around the house and bang on it and just make up songs. I still have a big shoebox full of tapes that we would make songs about, eating cat food and having a head made out of a tire, and just, so it started with music because we just loved music. And then eventually he got a guitar and of course didn't know how to play it. So he's just, strumming along with 5 strings left on it. And so I was like, well, I guess I got to get a bass. So we found the Trading Post, which is like the paper version of Craigslist back then. I saw the name Gibson on there. I was like, I've heard of that, so we'll go check it out. My mom and I went out in the sticks to this guy with a Gibson Grabber, and the headstock was broken. And my mom was like, you still want it? I was like, I sure do. I want. So we ended up getting it. The guy gave us a deal on it because I think the guy sort of felt bad. He was like, oh, there's this kid who, wants this broken bass. I was like, all right. So, I thumped around on it, and not easy to play with a broken headstock. So I started taking lessons, and the guy pulled out of the gig bag, and the guy's like, what are you doing? Buddy, this is broken. You can't play this. He was like, you need to get it fixed. I can't give you lessons on this thing. So I was like, I don't know. That was my first bass, and that's the one I still play. So.
And how did they fix it?
He gave me the name of a local music store, and they really did an amazing job. I feel like if they didn't do such a good job on it, I probably would have kept playing bass. Because I feel like maybe if you start out with a clunker, it's not easy to play. It's harder to keep going, unless you're real stubborn like me, I guess. But anyway, they ended up putting a Warmoth neck on it, and the thing is awesome. And I was talking to one of the guys at Warmoth, and that was back when they were out of a garage. So it's sort of a unique neck. It's because the neck broke recently because it got hurt, and couldn't find anybody who would duplicate the specs on it because everybody now is CNC machine. So if they don't have the template, they're not going to make it. And there were luthiers who were just like, no, I can't make anything that thin and that wide. It's like, you're crazy. It's like, I've been planning for 30 years like that. So finally found a guy who would, but he, reinforced the neck with some carbon rods. And
I guess the blessing is it must have been a bolt-on, right? Because it wasn't a neck. If it would have been neck through, that would have been about the end of the story.
That's right, yeah. I probably would have kept playing it, but still, yeah.
So once you had that start, are you self-taught? Did you go to school for more?
I did go back to the same guy and take lessons, and I really loved it. He was a great teacher. He played a few different instruments, and I'm sure it was kind of a headache because I brought him just some really random stuff. I brought him some fire hose with some really wacky bass lines. I brought him the Sanford and Son theme song, and Jackson 5, CCR. I just wanted to learn all kinds of the spectrum of things. So
tell me more about Hewolf.
Well, the guys, it's a 3-piece, and each of the guys I've been in 2 other bands with that I've known since I was young. We're sort of all from the same place. We're old friends, and it's mainly just like therapy when we get together because we can something to look forward to it and just get together and I don't know, and I think if we tried to do this band 20 years ago, it wouldn't be the same music because we would have a different train running, pushing the ideas. We keep the song in mind first. That's, we write for the song. It's just pleasing our own egos as far as players.
Mm-hmm. Now, I definitely get a very, very metal, very kind of almost retro heavy metal kind of feel to it. And right. I was chuckling through a video I was watching that you had a bunch of Japanese pranks on, and I'm kind of going, I don't know how they can get away doing that stuff to people.
Yeah, I know. I've in an effort to just have some video footage online. I would just scroll through YouTube and just find a theme, pick a theme. Like, okay, I'll sling a bunch of this together and put our music under it. Just something entertaining to look at while you listen to the music.
Yeah, that's very clever. And you guys have a new EP coming up,
Right.
your third.
Our third. So when we keep putting out EPs. So I think when we do our fifth EP, we're gonna do a box set. We'll throw them all in a box and have a 25 song box set.
There you go. And this one is titled Lilith.
I was reading different mythology stuff, and one thing I thought was pretty interesting. It was Adam's first wife before Eve, and I was like, "This is weird," because I'd never heard the story before.
Yeah.
So it was, it was all about how she sort of, disobeyed God and turned into, like the first succubus. I was like, that's, it was a crazy story. That stuff always interests me, reading about mythology and how everything worked back then, how they explained the world with different things. So.
And it's always fascinating, different points of view when you look at like even different cultures. We were recently in Arizona and visited some cliff dwellings, and again, whole society and a whole way of looking at things is different. But I won't take us on the travelogue. Tell us a little more about the projects you guys have coming up.
We've already started working on the fourth. There's a few songs we've been carrying over every time we go and record because I think they don't sort of fit with anything else. Like one of them that we have, it's a good song, but it doesn't fit with anything because it's like the song from a soundtrack of a movie that hasn't been made. It's about the high stakes, dangerous underground world of rock, paper, scissors, where people get limbs cut off. And so it's called Iron Survivor 2, Rock Always Wins. And it's about this guy who always throws rock. I don't know. It's just really dumb, but we have one song. And we're like, it doesn't fit anything. So we're like, we'll do, we'll release a single and it'll be for the soundtrack for a movie that doesn't exist.
There you go. But it's got a cool title that'd make me want to hear it. Go, what's this? What's this about?
It's very Survivor, hence the name Iron Survivor. It's what you think it would be. It's like it could be from the Iron Eagle soundtrack if it wasn't, about jets.
There you go. And in addition to recording, you guys have some performance dates coming up?
Right. We have a couple dates set up here in Richmond, playing out later this month, June 22nd. A couple of friends' bands, and then we're playing out next month. And I think we have something in the works for August. So
nice. And if people want to know where you guys are, what you're going to be doing, best place to look is on Facebook at Hewolf Official.
Correct. I think that gets updated the most.
Now, I always like to talk because, as you know, most of the bass community has, I'm going to call it gear acquisition syndrome. We're always looking for what gives us our sound. What gear gives you your sound? What are you playing on?
Well, I think first and foremost, the mainstay has been the bass, and that bass has been with me forever. It's just a big, heavy, like rock, and it's soaked up so much sweat and blood and beer and cigarette smoke that it's a monster. It sounds good. What I can plug in direct and it sounds good. Other than that, right now I've been playing DNA amplification, David Northchow. Most people know him from David Eden. But that amp, to me, I feel like I've found the be all end all with that amp because it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. I love it.
And you're playing on the 1350, right?
Correct. So I've got plenty of headroom.
Massive. And cab-wise?
Right now I have Eden cabs. I have two 410 Eden cabs.
Okay.
I'm thinking I really want to check out some DNA cabs. I've been looking at the 12. So I haven't had anything bigger than a 10 in a while, so I'm looking for that. I just run through a Sans amp and a tuner pedal.
Gotcha.
Sans amp stays on all the time. I just get a solid tone and dig into it.
And in the controversial realm, how about strings? Any particular taste?
Usually what's cheapest, because they're so expensive. And I'm kind of a cheapskate. I've never bought any of the high-end ones, so I really can't say. But I usually buy Ernie Ball when I buy them.
Gotcha.
And I really like them. When you put them on, they do sound awesome. I'm playing on with a 110 on the bottom because we're tuned. I'm down at D standard. I was sick of being in bands where guitar players wanted to do drop tuning, and then you try and mimic it, drop tuning on bass. And I was just thinking, this doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. It's like I felt like I was playing some other instrument. So eventually I was like, you know what? I'm going standard. I don't care. It's going to be a hassle looking at each other trying to figure out what you're doing, but I'm comfortable in standard. So that's where I am in D standard. So I've got a little bit of a heavier low string. At one point when I was in Darkest Hour, because I just had that one bass, I didn't have a backup bass. I had this great idea. I learned everything so I could play it on just 2 strings. I'll play everything on the low string if I can, because I think everything sounds better. I'm sure there's probably, I probably shouldn't say that, but anyway, because you got all the notes on that string you have on the other ones.
Sure.
But anyway, I had this great idea to make a backup bass onto my bass. So I strung it, the 2 low strings, and then I repeated the 2 low strings again. So I had the backup bass, because I would break a string probably every 4th show.
Wow.
I was playing a 125 gauge, and I was, it was it was a mess. We were, it was chaos. It was a little dangerous some nights, but yeah, but it didn't work because the setup just went to hell with those huge strings on it.
Gotcha.
So it was 125, then a 100, then a 125, and a 100 on a 4-string bass. And it wasn't happy.
Well, sometimes you have to try stuff because, innovation, if somebody hadn't have tried to, put pickups on a bass, we'd all be playing upright. So, somebody has to.
Yeah, those things are not easy.
Oh.
I used to have one of those. They're a lot of fun, and they sound awesome when you play with a bow. But it's work. And if you step away for a minute, then it's like starting over.
I hear you. And you mentioned, I know you guys are going to be recording a future EP. Any other long-term plans or any projects you're thinking of doing on your own? We started messing around with another guy in town, but it's sort of in the, it's like the newborn phases of it. But it's just, I don't know, it's sort of noisy. It's still, it's still good music, and it is. I think the efforts revolve around writing a good song, good songwriting. The guy we're playing with, he's obsessed with Michael Jackson, but he's like, I don't know if I can't really talk about it right now because it's like a hot topic. But yeah.
But anyway, it doesn't sound like Michael Jackson, but yeah, I don't know. It's just big and noisy and a lot going on, layers and. It's like dirty pop music. Gotcha.
Well, and of course, there's the personal side of stuff, but then there's the musical side of stuff, and I don't think anybody would dispute any of Michael's work musically speaking.
I don't think you can.
No, not at all. There's a reason that they had him as the king of pop. So it's a very solid musical base. Now, other controversies and other things aside. When it comes back to the music, you kind of go, wow, that's some amazing stuff. Yeah. Well, Paul, it sounds like you've got all kinds of interesting things. Folks, make sure you're looking into what Hewolf is doing. Check out the Facebook page. Also, they can hear more of you guys on Bandcamp.
Right. That's a good place to check out all of our music. We have all 3 EPs loaded up there. You can download them right from there.
Very nice. Well, Paul, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with us. Folks, you've seen him here, Paul Burnette. Coming to you live on Bass Musician Magazine.
Thanks for basing out with us here on BassMusicianMagazine.com.